So far, I've been trying to help you understand Petsy, but now let's switch gears for a minute. I'd like to talk about Petsy training. I think what I'll do is I'll just tell you what past training participants have told us about what the training is like. The first thing that participants often say that they really appreciate about the training is the abundance of specific step-by-step methods, protocols, interventions, sequences. We've spent decades trying things this way, trying things that way, and we've just found that some ways of sequencing things, some ways of presenting concepts and ideas, some ways work better than others. And so we've been paying attention to the ones that seem to work the best. As a matter of fact, at the Couples Clinic and Research Institute, we have this ongoing competition for the best turns of phrase that really bring a point home. Anyway, we've just learned that some ways of doing things work better than others. And so we've systematized things into teachable, learnable, very specific step-by-step ways of doing things. And that's really helpful to a lot of participants. The second thing they mentioned probably would be the videos of actual therapy sessions. And, there's just a lot of case examples. We're not just talking about concepts in this training, but we're showing you step by step how you can apply them in specific situations. The third thing that many participants mention is the abundance of resources that come with the training. You're going to walk away with a binder that's packed full of these specific protocols and sequences and ways of saying things, for example. We've spent decades developing and refining a treatment manual that clients actually read along with the treatment process that they go through. So this treatment manual actually does a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of explaining these abilities that are required. There are over 30 specific exercises in the manual that Petsy therapists use over and over again at various points in the treatment process. So, you can assign the exercise, but then the client can actually go home and look at the exercise. And then there are client questionnaires that clients complete after they do an exercise that helps them track their progress. There's a phone-friendly version of it, so clients can load it right onto their phone and read every chapter, every exercise and stuff on their phone. We also have a print-friendly version. But the unique feature is that we personalize each manual so that it has their partner's actual name in it over 600 times. I had one client who came in and told me, I tell my friends when I got married, my husband didn't come with an owner's manual. I don't know how this guy operates. Thank God I finally have the owner's manual. This is a book. It's amazing. It fits him to a T. It seems like you wrote this book to help me figure out how I'm going to deal with my husband. Anyway, the treatment manual is there to offer you support, and you'll be grateful for it, especially if you really resonate with the Petsy approach and you really want to make this your main way of operating with clients. Then maybe the last thing I'll mention is how often participants say to us when they're finished with the training, how much this material impacted the way that they look at and understand and operate in their own relationships. Many participants come into the training and they have relationships that are really functioning very well. They're satisfying relationships. But what they often find is that when they're asked, so what's the secret? What is it that you guys do? They're just shooting in the dark. They're kind of taking a guess, pulling out things that seem relevant to them. But as they go through the training and they read through these things that are empirically verified, like these abilities, they begin recognizing, yeah, we do that. And I guess that's why we're having so much success. Frankly, there are also participants who are in love relationships that are really not going that well. It's pretty mediocre. They're just sort of tolerating each other. And then there are also participants who are in flat out unhappy relationships. Divorce rates for therapists are no lower than that of the general public. Being in a successful long-term love relationship, it's just challenging. The bar is a lot higher than we would like it to be. So as these participants go through the training, they often find that many of the principles and the exercises are extremely helpful to them. And they report sometimes years later how much over time this training actually helped them in their own relationships. I think that generally, therapists are often pretty aware of their strengths and their weaknesses in relationships. But what happens in the PETSI training is they come to realize that these, things that they consider, I should really improve that, slap me on the wrist, oops, I did it again, kind of, these sorts of things. They see the concrete evidence that suggests that they're not just weaknesses, they're relationship killers. And if you want to stand a chance of getting more responsiveness, more motivation, more caring from your partner, you can't be doing these things on a regular basis. So it inspires them to dig in and to do the work of changing the way that they operate inside so that they show up different in their relationships. And that difference makes a big difference in terms of how their relationship goes over time. A lot of times, therapists who are in unhappy relationships believe that the main cause is, frankly, the lack of emotional intelligence on the part of their partners. Therapists have a leg up. It's been the focus of usually their college, their graduate school. Just being aware of their emotions tends to be a strong suit. So it's easy to assume that the problem is a relative imbalance in emotional intelligence. But as they go through the training, they're reading these studies that suggest pretty conclusively that when relationships aren't going well, there's usually a relatively mutual level of detrimental things that each partner is doing. They're often doing different types of things. We all tend to be aware of, bad things like cheating, lying, certainly becoming physically violent or threatening violence, making clear-cut agreements and breaking them for no good reason, things like that. But the big news in relationship science over the last 4 decades is the discovery of an entirely different set of relationship offenses that aren't of the sort of big bad variety. They're actually pretty subtle. As a matter of fact, many people don't even think that they're damaging to relationships, but these studies show conclusively that these small things, they're high frequency, right? They don't have as much impact on any one occasion as like cheating, but they happen on a high frequency day-to-day basis, and they're just as deadly as the big traditional heavy hitters. Well, therapists are just as prone to these subtle, daily kind of relationship offenses as their mates are. In fact, therapists are particularly prone to the relationship offense of failing to stand up for yourself and instead turning around and blaming your partner for being selfish or controlling, looking down your nose at your partner. Therapists are particularly vulnerable to that. So as these therapists go through the training, they actually come to realize that what they may have even formerly thought of as virtuous, like the ability to not stoop to that level, be the bigger person, take the high road. These things are actually among the most damaging things that happen in relationships if you really look at the evidence. This ability to stand up for yourself and do it in a way that's respectful to your partner. This ability is absolutely necessary if you want to stand a chance of your relationship going well. So the training is eye-opening for many therapists. And many therapists report this somewhat dizzying experience of going through the training, and they've got one eye on how can I apply this with my couples, but the other eye is, oh crap, this really applies to me too. I'm actually happy when I see this happen, because probably the most important thing that needs to happen for a PETSI therapist to be effective, it has to do with the work that they're doing on their own relationship abilities. There's room for improvement for most of us. When you've done your own work and you know from your own experience the benefits of more fully developing these crucial abilities, you speak with more confidence. Clients can tell that you know what you're talking about. And of course, you get the benefit of having a relationship that's even more rewarding also. Anyway, I'll stop now. I hope that some of the things that I have said have helped you understand Petsy a little bit better, and at least in an overview sort of way, and helped you understand the benefits that many people believe they receive from the Petsy training. And I hope our paths cross soon.